You know, in business today, it feels like we're droning in strategy. You've got your marketing strategy, your corporate strategy, digital, talents. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And honestly, it's getting way too complicated. But what if the real secret to getting ahead isn't about adding more, but about getting radically simpler? Let's dive in. This quote right here, it just gets straight to the heart of the problem. A great strategy is all about focus. It tells you which shiny new things you should probably ignore. But, in this constant rush to do more and be everywhere, we've kind of lost that clarity. And what we're left with is just strategic chaos. And this is exactly what that chaos, that strategy sprawl looks like, right? Every time a new challenge pops up, it gets its own strategy, its own team, its own urgent to-do list. The result? Total hyperactivity. I mean, everyone is incredibly busy. But without a clear vision of what not to do, who's to say if all that frantic motion is actually moving the company forward? So this really is the big question. What if we could just cut through all that noise? What if strategy could be both way simpler and a whole lot more powerful? Well, the good news is it absolutely can be. And the answer is a really cool framework called the Value Stick. It's this beautifully simple, back-to-basics tool that gives us one common language, one single lens to look at everything a company does, from its biggest global plans all the way down to a single marketing tweet. So what is this thing? Well, think of the Value Stick as just a simple picture of the total amount of value a business creates. And this is key. It's not just about profit. It actually captures the value that goes to everybody involved, the customers, the employees, even the suppliers. The goal is simple. Make the stick as long as possible. The longer the stick, the more value you're creating for everyone. Okay, and here is the really powerful part. To make that stick longer, to create more total value, you only have two moves. That's it. At the very top, you have willingness to pay. That's the absolute most a customer would ever spend on your product. Your job is to push that up. And at the very bottom, you have willingness to sell. That's the absolute minimum an employee or a supplier would accept to work with you. Your job is to pull that down. Every single strategic choice you make is really about moving one of those 2 points. All right, so let's start at the top of that stick. How do you actually increase a customer's willingness to pay? How do you make what you're offering so valuable, so essential, that they'd be happy to pay even more for it? This is such a great example of the difference between being product-focused and being value-focused. So back in the early days of e-readers, Sony made a fantastic device. They were totally product-centric. But to get a book, you had to download it to your computer, then plug in the device and transfer it over. It was a pain. Amazon, on the other hand, was totally YTP-centric. They thought about the whole experience and they built in free 3G access. And just like that, buying a book became a frictionless, one-click impulse buy you could do from anywhere. And the results were just staggering. By focusing on the customer's entire journey and raising their willingness to pay with pure convenience, not just better tech specs, Amazon completely took over the market. Sony, even with its great technology, got left in the dust. Okay, so now let's flip to the other end of the stick. This is the part of strategy that gets ignored so often: creating value for your own people. How do you make your company such a great place to contribute to that people would be willing to work there even if a competitor offered them a bit more money? In other words, how do you lower their willingness to sell? Check out this fantastic real-world example from Quest Diagnostics. Now, they didn't just crack the whip in their call centers to get better performance. No, they focused on creating better jobs. And just look at these numbers. Attrition wasn't just lowered, it was slashed in half. Unplanned absences, they dropped by 2/3. And of course, with happier, more engaged employees, the quality of customer service just soared. See how that works? By focusing on their employees, Quest created this amazing virtuous cycle. Happier people led directly to higher productivity and way better service, which in turn created more value for customers and for the company. They proved that taking care of your employees isn't some trade-off against performance. It's actually a direct driver of it. And that Quest story isn't just some rare exception. It actually points to this massive, often hidden opportunity. The productivity gap between the best-run companies and everyone else is just enormous. In the US, the top companies are literally twice as productive. In some other markets, it's a 5-to-1 difference. We're not talking about small, incremental gains here. This is a game-changing advantage just waiting to be claimed. So, if that opportunity is so huge, where should you actually focus your energy? A lot of companies think the answer is to jump ship and find a better industry. But just look at this chart. The data could not be clearer. The biggest gains, we're talking more than double the impact on your bottom line, come from getting better right where you are. The real prize is in mastering your own game and simply outcompeting your rivals. So, whether you're pushing up that willingness to pay for your customers or pulling down the willingness to sell for your team, it all points to this one central philosophy. It's a really subtle but incredibly profound shift in how you think about business itself. This is it. This is the whole idea in a nutshell. Stop chasing profits as the main goal. Instead, become completely obsessed with one question. How can we create more value for our customers, for our employees, for our partners? When you make lengthening that value stick your single-minded focus, you'll find that exceptional profits aren't something you have to chase anymore. They become the natural, inevitable result. So I'll leave you with this to think about. As you look at the businesses all around you, which ones do you see that are truly creating value, and which ones are just trying to capture it? The value stick gives you this powerful new lens to finally see the difference.